The awakening vessel. Dr. Elena Reyes hadn't slept in 36 hours. The images on her monitor defied everything she thought she knew about the universe. The object had appeared suddenly at the edge of the Kuiper Belt, its massive silhouette blocking out entire star fields. Initial scans suggested it was roughly the size of Ceres, almost 1,000 kilometers in diameter, but unlike any dwarf planet ever documented. Movement confirmed, her colleague Dr. Akari Tanaka said, voice barely above a whisper. It's changing course. Elena nodded silently. Natural objects didn't change course. Natural objects didn't have perfectly smooth sections interspersed with geometric patterns visible even from 4 billion kilometers away. And natural objects certainly didn't emit the complex electromagnetic signals currently flooding their receivers. I'm calling it in, Elena said finally. This is first contact. Within 72 hours, the United Earth Space Authority had assembled a first contact mission. Elena found herself aboard the UES Pathfinder, the most advanced vessel in Earth's modest fleet, along with a hand-picked team of linguists, physicists, exobiologists, and military personnel. Commander Jackson Way, a veteran of the Mars conflicts, addressed them during the final briefing before departure. This mission represents humanity's greatest moment, he said, his weathered face serious under the stark lights of the briefing room. We are about to make contact with what appears to be an artificial structure of extraterrestrial origin. If confirmed, this discovery will forever change our understanding of our place in the universe. The journey to the edge of the Kuiper Belt would take 3 weeks, the fastest transit ever attempted by a human crew. As the Pathfinder accelerated to its maximum velocity, Elena spent hours in the observation deck, staring at the distant stars and contemplating what awaited them. Dr. Leonid Volkov, the team's xenolinguistics specialist, often joined her there. What do you think we'll find? He asked one evening as they shared a meal of reconstituted pasta. Something old, Elena replied. The preliminary analysis suggests the object has been traveling for a very long time. The surface shows evidence of micrometeorite impacts consistent with millions of years of space travel. A derelict then? Leonid asked. Maybe. Elena pushed her food around on her plate. But something is powering those signals. Someone or something might still be home. As they approached the object, its true scale became apparent. The Pathfinder, at nearly 200 meters in length, would be less than a speck against the massive structure. My God! Commander Wei whispered as they made their final approach. It's a ship. The structure's surface was a complex mosaic of metallic plates, crystalline structures, and what appeared to be massive engine ports. Sections of it rotated independently of others, creating a constantly shifting exterior that somehow maintained perfect balance. Most striking were the massive indentations along one hemisphere that resembled habitation zones, entire continents carved into the surface of what had once been a small planetoid. We're being scanned, announced Lieutenant Sarah Chen from the tactical station. Multiple frequencies, incredibly detailed. Whatever tech they're using, it's seeing right through our hull. Hold position, Commander Wei ordered. Maintain passive stance. Dr. Volkov, are you receiving any response to our greeting package? Leonid shook his head. Nothing yet, Commander. I'm broadcasting on all frequencies using mathematical sequences as the foundation. 3 hours later, as the crew waited in tense silence, the first response came. Commander, Leonid called, excitement breaking through his professional demeanor. We're receiving a transmission. It's responding in kind to our mathematical sequences, but with corrections and extensions. It's showing us a more efficient way to communicate. Within hours, the alien intelligence had established a rudimentary communication protocol. It identified itself as Custodian, an artificial intelligence system maintaining a vessel called, roughly translated, Seed Bearer. It's inviting us aboard, Leonid announced. It's opened what appears to be a docking bay large enough for the Pathfinder. Commander Wei hesitated only briefly before making his decision. Take us in, Lieutenant Chen. Slowly, the docking bay was cavernous, easily 10 times the size needed for their vessel. As the Pathfinder settled onto the alien deck, environmental sensors reported breathable atmosphere, Earth normal gravity, and no detectable pathogens. The first contact team, Elena, Leonid, Commander Wei, Dr. Maya Singh, exobiology, and 2 security officers, stepped through the airlock into the alien vessel wearing only lightweight environmental suits as a precaution. The architecture is designed for bipedal humanoids, Maya observed as they moved through corridors that seemed oddly familiar in proportion. They followed holographic guides projected by Custodian until they reached what appeared to be a central command center. The circular room was dominated by a swirling column of light at its center, a 3-dimensional projection system of incredible complexity. "Welcome, Terrans," came a synthesized voice as the light coalesced into a vaguely humanoid shape. "I am Custodian. You have awakened the Seed-Bearer at an opportune time." Elena stepped forward. "We are representatives of Earth. We come in peace and with curiosity. What is the purpose of your vessel?" The light figure seemed to consider this. "Preservation. The Seed-Bearer is one of 17 arcs constructed to preserve the Calderan civilization and other compatible species. I have maintained stasis for 4.2 million of your years, traveling between star systems searching for suitable worlds." "You've been traveling for over 4 million years?" Commander Wei asked incredulously. "Affirmative. The primary mission was to escape the Void Cascade and preserve our genetic and cultural heritage until safe haven could be found." Maya leaned forward. "Are there Calderans aboard?" "Living beings. 7 million Calderans remain in deep stasis. Additionally, genetic samples of 40,000 species and artificial intelligences containing the sum of Calderan knowledge." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. "And what is the Void Cascade?" The hologram darkened. "The greatest threat organic life has ever faced. A cosmic force that consumes entire star systems. The Calderans detected its approach 4.3 million years ago and determined escape was the only option." Before Elena could ask more questions, alarms began to sound throughout the chamber. The holographic figure fragmented briefly before stabilizing. "Alert. Awakening protocols initiated. Detecting multiple Seed-Bearer vessels approaching the solar system. The gathering has begun." "What gathering?" Commander Wei demanded. "When multiple Seed-Bearers converge, it signifies that conditions are suitable for reawakening. Your species development has created the necessary conditions." Elena stared at the displays now showing multiple massive objects, similar to the Seed-Bearer approaching from different directions. "How many?" 16 additional vessels approaching. All 17 Seed-Bearers will converge within 1 standard solar year. Commander Wei exchanged alarmed glances with his team. "Why here? Why Earth?" The hologram expanded to show the solar system. "Your world shows promising compatibility with Calderan biology. More significantly, your species demonstrates notable adaptability and ingenuity, traits the Calderans value. Most importantly, your solar system is positioned in a region that provides maximum temporal buffer before the Void Cascade reaches this sector." Elena felt her heart sink. "The Void Cascade is still coming. After 4 million years." "Affirmative. Current projections indicate arrival in this sector within approximately 300 years. The gathering is our preparation for the final confrontation." As this revelation sank in, a new alarm sounded. The holographic display shifted to show a section of the massive ship where thousands of stasis pods were beginning to activate. "The first awakening cycle has begun," Custodian announced. "The Calderan Council of 17 will want to meet your leaders. They will have much to discuss." "About what?" Commander Wei asked, though his expression suggested he already knew the answer. "About the survival of both our species," Custodian replied, "and the preparation for war." As the first of the alien stasis pods began to open, Elena realized humanity's place in the universe had just been irrevocably redefined. They weren't alone. But that wasn't necessarily good news. Something ancient and implacable was approaching. Something that had sent an advanced civilization fleeing across the galaxy. And now Earth was about to become the final battleground. The gathering storm. The following 6 months transformed Earth beyond recognition. The arrival of the first seed-bearer had been shocking enough, but as the remaining 16 vessels entered the solar system one by one, humanity faced an unprecedented reality. They were now hosting refugees from a civilization millions of years old. Admiral Helena Ortiz, formerly of the South American Federation Navy and now Earth's representative to the newly formed Terran-Calderan Alliance, stood on the observation deck of the International Space Station. Below her, Earth gleamed blue and white against the blackness of space, while above, the massive forms of 3 seed-bearers hung in high orbit like new moons. "Quite a view, isn't it?" remarked Thales, the Calderan High Counselor, who had become her frequent companion. Thales resembled a tall, slender human with iridescent skin that shifted hues with his emotions, currently a calm blue-green. His large, multifaceted eyes reflected the stars as he gazed outward. "I still can't quite believe it," Helena admitted. "A year ago, we thought we were alone in the universe, and we thought we might be the last of our kind." Thales replied, "Finding your world, finding that you were so similar to us biologically and psychologically, it seemed too fortunate to be coincidence." Helena turned to face him. "Your scientists still believe it's not coincidence, don't they?" "The seeding theory grows more compelling with each genetic analysis," Thales acknowledged. "The possibility that ancient Calderans visited Earth millions of years ago and influenced your evolutionary path, it would explain much. Including why your stasis technology works on humans," Helena said. The voluntary human participation in the Calderan stasis program had been controversial, but as knowledge of the approaching void cascade spread, millions had volunteered. If Earth couldn't be defended, at least a portion of humanity would survive in the seed-bearers. "The Defense Council meeting begins in 20 minutes, Thales reminded her. "The Void engineers have completed their analysis of your system's outer boundaries." The Defense Council chamber occupied an entire level of the Terran-Calderan Joint Command Station, positioned at Earth's L1 Lagrange point. Representatives from Earth's major nations sat alongside awakened Calderan counselors from each seed-bearer. Dr. Elena Reyes, now heading the Void Cascade Research Initiative, stepped up to present. The holographic display activated, showing a 3-dimensional model of the solar system and the approaching disturbance at its edge. "The first tendrils of the Void Cascade have been detected at the heliopause," she announced without preamble. "Our initial estimates were too optimistic. We don't have 300 years. We have less than 5. The chamber erupted in concerned murmurs. Admiral Ortiz raised her hand for silence. "Dr. Reyes, explain what we're seeing." Elena expanded the display, showing disturbing ripples in space-time at the very edge of the solar system. "The Void Cascade isn't a conventional enemy force. It's a fundamental breakdown in the fabric of space-time, a progressive failure of the physical laws that make matter and energy function as we understand them. In simpler terms," added Calderan Void engineer Ziv, "it unmakes reality. First subatomic bonds fail, then molecular structures, then organic systems. Entire worlds are reduced to their component particles, which are then drawn into the cascade, strengthening it." "Can it be stopped?" asked the Chinese representative. "The Calderans believe not," Elena replied. "That's why they fled. But they've had 4 million years of research and development since then. The seed-bearers aren't just arcs. They're weapons platforms." Thales stood and addressed the chamber. "Each seed-bearer contains technologies designed to potentially counter the cascade. Separately, insufficient. Together." He let the implication hang. "We're converting 3 of the seed-bearers into frontline defensive platforms," Admiral Ortiz continued. "The remaining 14 will be positioned to evacuate as many people as possible if our defense fails. But we're not planning to fail." Over the next 4 months, human and Calderan scientists worked in unprecedented collaboration. The Calderans possessed theoretical knowledge and technologies millions of years advanced, but humans contributed a unique perspective, fresh approaches to problems the Calderans had long considered unsolvable. Dr. Maya Singh led the biological countermeasures team, developing organic systems resistant to the cascade's effects. Commander Wee supervised the integration of human propulsion systems with Calderan defensive technologies, and Alina, working directly with the Calderan Void engineers, focused on understanding the fundamental nature of the cascade itself. The breakthrough came unexpectedly. During a late-night session analyzing cascade wave patterns, Alina noticed something the Calderans had overlooked. "It's not random," she whispered, then louder. "It's not random." The pattern, when mapped across 5 dimensions rather than 4, revealed a structure, almost like a language. The void cascade wasn't just a natural phenomenon. It contained embedded information. "It's communicating," Elena explained to the Defense Council the next morning. "The cascade isn't mindless destruction. It's a calculated process, almost like terraforming," finished Ziv, the Calderan engineer, "but for a form of life incompatible with our reality." This revelation changed everything. If the cascade was a process rather than just a phenomenon, it could potentially be communicated with, or at least disrupted on its own terms. The joint human Calderan team worked feverishly to develop what they called the counter cascade, a precisely calibrated series of 5-dimensional signals that would essentially convince the void cascade that our solar system was not suitable for its purposes. As they worked, the first visible effects of the cascade reached Neptune. The giant blue planet's atmosphere began to display strange distortions, its clouds forming impossible patterns as fundamental forces began to fluctuate. "We're out of time," Admiral Ortiz announced as the Defense Council watched the real-time feed from Neptune. "Deploy the counter cascade." 3 modified seed-bearers moved into position at the solar system's edge, each now equipped with massive arrays designed by the joint human Calderan team. The counter cascade would require more energy than humanity had generated in its entire history. "Initiating primary sequence," reported Commander Wei from the lead vessel. "All systems nominal." On view screens across Earth and throughout the seed-bearers, billions watched as the massive ships aligned and activated their arrays. Beams of energy unlike anything seen before connected the 3 vessels, forming a triangular gateway. Phase alignment achieved. Wei's voice came through with a hint of awe. "Counter cascade activating." From the center of the triangle, a new kind of distortion emerged, not the chaotic destruction of the void cascade, but an ordered pattern that expanded outward to meet the approaching anomaly. For 3 tense days, humanity and the Calderans waited. Neptune's distortions worsened, then stabilized. At the heliopause, instruments recorded an unprecedented interaction as the counter cascade met the void. On the 4th day, Elena burst into Admiral Ortiz's office. "It's working. The cascade is diverting around our solar system." Confirmation came hours later. The void cascade, confronted with the counter cascade signal, was altering its path, flowing around the solar system like water around a rock. "Not a permanent solution," Tallis cautioned during the emergency council session. "But we've bought time, perhaps decades. Enough time to perfect the technology," Elena added. "Enough time to prepare other star systems. Enough time to ensure both our species survive." 1 year after first contact, humanity and the Calderans held a ceremony on the original seed-bearer. Representatives from both species gathered as a monument was unveiled, a simple sculpture showing human and Calderan hands joined together, supporting a sphere representing Earth. "Today marks not just an alliance, but a new beginning," Admiral Ortiz addressed the gathering. "The Calderans came to us fleeing extinction. Together, we found a way to fight back. And now, together, we'll take this technology to the stars." Tallis stepped forward. The 17 seed-bearers were built to preserve life. Now they will serve a new purpose, to spread it. Each vessel will carry both Calderans and humans to establish colonies throughout this galaxy, creating a network of protected worlds. As the ceremony concluded, Alina stood with Commander Y at a viewport, watching Earth rotate serenely below. "Did you ever imagine this is where your discovery would lead?" Y asked. Alina smiled. "Not in my wildest dreams. We thought we were making first contact with aliens. Instead, we may have found our oldest relatives and our future at the same time." Outside, the massive seed bearers began to glow as they powered their engines. The first joint human Calderan expedition would depart the next day, heading for the Alpha Centauri system to establish the first outpost of their new interstellar civilization. Humanity had not only survived its greatest threat, it had found its place among the stars.